Knowledge is power. The truth of that saying is obvious. In one way, it means that having an education is a pathway to economic freedom and career success. But is it the only way to achieve your dreams? And does it really matter what kind of school you attend, whether public or private? This is what I wish you knew about education. Hello, I'm Torrin Cooper, and welcome to I Wish You Knew. The school choice debate has been going on for decades. Simply explained, school choice gives parents the option of sending their children to their assigned neighborhood school, or public charter, private, or even homeschool. So what can be wrong with that? Critics say the money used to support choice drains funding to enhance or improve public education for all students. Supporters say it levels the playing field. Here to tell you what they wish you knew are...
Hey, it's Mary.
Hey, I'm Waynika.
Hey guys, it's Byron.
So let's start here. Did you guys attend public or charter schools or private schools?
I went to public school, like all years, all from K through 12, all public.
I went to 7 different public schools from K to 12.
I went to different, I went to a lot, about 5 or so.
Yeah.
Byron?
Public, charter, no, public, private, and public again, so kind of mixture.
Okay, so you have like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
In your opinion, do you feel like you received more from a public school or a private school?
Being that I was a student who really didn't like to be there either way, it was, to me, I couldn't pick up on it, you know, when I was in school, because I mean, we learn regardless, but I would say in public school, public school, I went to Watkins and I was in a Montessori program.
Okay.
And their way of teaching is just astronomically different from anything other than everything else. So I would say the learning strategies there it helped like tremendously, because what they focused on was letting you do kind of like your own thing, like let you learn what you want to learn. And then when it's time to like come together collectively and learn something, you already got whatever you wanted to get out of your system. So you're kind of more in tune to what you need to learn. So
Mary, and you said you went to 7 different public schools. What's that about?
They were all in Maryland, but we moved around a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but.
So at high level, what school choice is money being diverted from, they'll say money is being diverted from public schools, and you can take money, not physically take money, but money is diverted from public schools into charter schools, into private schools, and the parents will say, hey, like, we have this perfectly good public school here, why are you guys choosing like other schools? So do you think private schools have a better education or offer more than public schools, from your opinion?
I do think that private schools offer more, but it's because you have people paying specifically for their children to be amongst the elite and to know the best. So that's the reason why I do also get the idea that supporting choice in this instance does take away from public schools, because that's money that could be going to one location and not outsourcing it, so that public schools can just be great, and we can have everybody afforded that great opportunity to learn what they need to learn so that they can excel and do what they're supposed to do. For me, we know there's level. I went to a lot of different public schools too. There's levels to it. So I graduated from DCPS. I came back to DCPS my 12th grade year because of the in-state and out-of-state situation when you go off to college. But I got a lot of my education in Charles County. At the time, Charles County was really good. Their public school system was amazing. So when I came back, everything seemed a little like I had already done it. Of course, different curriculums and stuff like that. But so to me, public schools can be amazing. They can work well. So you just have to kind of support them to get them where you want them to be.
And another argument for public schools, not to say that I'm against private or charter schools, is that charter schools and private schools aren't held to the same kind of accountability as public schools, because now they're like privately owned and stuff like that.
Exactly.
They can turn away students. They don't have to educate everyone. And some of them are like tuition based, and you have to take a test to get in, and you can discriminate. And public schools have a different kind of, way of navigating things.
Well, for when I went to private school in middle school, a lot of people didn't believe me when I told them this, but I went to school literally from 7 to 7. So
7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And this is how the
right.
day broke down. 7 a.m. we come to it was an all-boys school too, so I mean,
Okay.
it sucked. So 7 a.m. we come in, get breakfast, do that whole thing. We're in class by like 8:30. 8:30 to about 12, and then 12 that's lunch, then 12 to 3, and that's the end of the educational day.
Okay.
And then from 3 to 7 we do clubs, extracurricular activities, and then mandatory study hall. So that's all crammed into one day, Monday through Thursday. Friday, we got out when everybody else got out. So
do you think that helped or hurt you as far as your education goes?
I mean, now that I'm an adult, I feel like it helped me because knowing me, I would have gotten home. We had 7 classes too. So knowing me, I would have got home and just did nothing. Because when I was in elementary, we didn't get homework. Like we just went home and just chilled and kicked back.
Who you go to?
I went to Watkins.
Huh.
But that's the thing, like when you in a public school, and not all public schools, but in general, some of them don't push you as hard because they're not held to the same accountability.
I didn't even know what
as
homework
private
was
schools are.
until I got to middle school. So,
But let's be very clear. A lot of education and what's important about it is when you go home, because you have to retain the information. If it's not being enforced at home, then I think that speaks to a lot of things. Because in public school, you have an array of different type of parents and styles and things like that. I know for me, we weren't required to do study hall, but we did have after school activity after school was over. So our schedule was kind of similar, except we didn't have the study hall. But because of my mama, we did have study hall. You know what I mean? My aunts, and they would just make sure that we were on top of what we were doing. It's just like college, though. It's like the college you go to, a lot of the times the information will be there for you, but the classroom conversation is different based on who's in the class.
Cool. Hold it. So we're going to get back to that, especially about home education too. I'm loving this conversation, but we have to take a break. But first, it's trivia time. What school was America's first public high school for African Americans? Stay tuned for the answer. Before we left, we talked a little bit about education at home, how important it is that you're not just coming to school and get it, but it really starts at home. So, Mary, can you talk a little bit to the point about how important it is to for parents to be educators first?
It's definitely important because your parents are the first people to teach you everything about life. They teach you manners. They teach you the things that you don't learn in school. So it's important for parents to be the first people to make those choices for their children.
Right.
Yeah.
When you had a comment.
Yeah, I know for me, I mean, it just wasn't an option. My family, my aunts and mom, there's 14 of them, and they grew up in Southeast Atlantic Street. All of them have gone on to do amazing things. To me, to look at from where they started to where they are, a big part of that is education. And just learning new things, how to do this, how do I finesse my way in a business office, how do I learn how to be business savvy, how do I learn how to type, how do I learn how to do these things. So that was important. For us, it wasn't so much, oh, you gotta do this. It was more like I seen what they did and then I wanted to emulate it, because for me, all of those things came natural. I won't say I'm a type A personality, but reading from first grade, I was always say I was on a 3rd or 4th grade reading level, so I had to leave the class and go away.
Same.
So it always came easy. I didn't have to apply myself as hard as others. But what I knew,
do you think
it
that's
wasn't
because
an
you
option.
started early?
It could be because I started early. Because my aunt and my mom, like, we would sit down and just write and do little things. Also church, because you're trying to follow the scripture or whatever, just
Sunday
playing
school.
as a child. So all of the activities that I was in required me to read, required me to do things that adults were doing. So yes, I do think it does, because you develop patterns and like structure. Like in private schools, 7 to 7, it's just structure, because that's going to be for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I think, like as Mary said, like parents are the first teachers. So when you come out the womb, the first people like they see are like your parents. So you're essentially in charge of how they begin or how they start, set up their education and academic success and stuff like that too. And as an educator, and I teach pre-K, 3 and 4 year olds. So, and it's a little bit difficult to navigate, but they definitely absorb things fast. And the more you have that structure and the more you feed them information and consistency and fluency and stuff like that, the better they are to grasp. Because from 0 to 3, children are learning to read. And then from 3 on, they're reading to learn. So it's really critical when they're in pre-K and kindergarten to give them that foundation, the literacy skills that they need so that they'll be able to be successful. So to you, Byron, how have you started, with your education? not you personally, but how have you started educating?
With my daughter, I read to her. She has my mom. My mom is the educator in my family. She got bachelor's degrees and all that fun stuff. So she did something with DC Public Library, and they just send her books every month. So she has this big
budding library.
It's not even that big yet. It's 7 books.
Budding.
But it's what's that book? The Little Engine That Could. I read that to her, and she was just she didn't even know what I was reading, but she was like, oh, the colors, everything. So one of those things that I will be implementing is reading, because that's been a big part of my life. And now that I'm a writer and do music and all the other stuff, I'm not saying you have to know how to read to do music, but it helped me write. It helped me just create new worlds and things like that. So I'm gonna definitely implement reading and music into practically everything that she does, because if she can get that down, to a rhythm, to a T, then everything else you can just apply the same skills.
Right, and it's also important, if you want to learn languages and music, it's easy to get them at the early age where they can catch on to things fast and be able to just get on and just keep rolling with it. So, and it's also a program that will send books to your home for once a month, so you'll have a book in the home, and the parents can start reading with the child. And I hear that when the baby's in the womb, you can read to the child and they can pick up on things fast.
I read to her and sang to her and played music around her.
But what would you guys say to the people who say starting early is too much for them, they can't handle it, we should wait until they're more mature?
My only thing with that is what is it going to hurt? Is it going to hurt the child? If it's not going to hurt the child, then I don't see why you wouldn't do it.
But there's also people who take it to a way different level.
Extreme, yeah. I was trying to prove their point. I'll take into consideration anything, but you're going to kind of go from your own experience. I know reading, that was fun for me, so we read a lot. And reading books, even before I could read, read me a story, then I learned how to read or memorize the story, really. So I think it's important, but I don't get how reading to your child is going to stunt them or stop them from doing anything. They're just listening. It's kind of like auditory. I would rather them be doing that than just sitting there or just watching playing. TV. And,
But the case is that they're not emotionally ready to handle these things. I have a kid in my class who just turned 3, and he knows a lot, but emotionally, sometimes he's just not there and he can't.
And I don't think at that point you don't have to force anything. It's just do it 3 minutes. It makes a difference because they'll start to look forward to that little bit of time that they get. So
cool. More on education when we return. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. So we're on education today. So what do you guys say to the folks that says, there's billionaires who became billionaires and are successful without an education. I don't need school. What do you say to those people, Mary?
I would say that was a very lucky circumstance. And
without a college education. So some have started college and some have
obviously
dropped
that's
out.
Really great for some people. And if you have an idea, you should go with it. But I think that not everybody is going to hit that jackpot, right?
Yeah,
so I think for some people, you really need that foundation. For me, I knew that I just wanted to get my degree out of the way so that I could be empowered from there to do whatever I want. And I'd always have the degree as my backup, right? And if I somehow stumble upon a great idea, who knows?
Or have any talents to take you far. So what do you say, Whitney, to the people?
I know. I would say that, you just have to look at statistics. I know math is not everybody's strong suit, but it's clear. Everybody's not going to become a millionaire. The world isn't ready for that. Nobody's ready for that, you feel me? So, but I think what schooling does, especially after the basics, the reading, writing, arithmetic, all of that math. It's endurance. You build. When people see that you've completed your degree, a lot of the times they know that you will not remember all of the things you learned in the books. But it's the endurance to finish something, to start a process, and do whatever it takes to succeed in it. That's what college was for me.
Do you really need college for that, though? Can you just tell your life story like, well, I overcome so many obstacles in my life and I have endurance. I didn't need college to teach me this.
No, you don't. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't need college to do it. For some people, they need more structure, so I think that's why we gravitate towards it. But outside of that, you don't need it, because if you can get it in other mediums and other sources, a lot of people do it. Like, a lot of famous people, moguls and different things. Education, knowledge is just powerful. So when you're doing anything and you're choosing to learn and feed yourself, you doing the same thing. That's why now you can supplement your experience for your education, and it's credit, because real life happens, and that's really ultimately what matters. So I think you can do it however it works for you. But for the majority of us, we go to a college because, we want the structure. We want to learn specific whatever we want. I don't want the debt.
And it's not even the entertainment industry anymore. Google isn't hiring people who have college degrees. It's about what you bring, what you bring to the table. Yeah.
Well, to jump into that, I don't know which camera we're at, but to that, I'm living it. Like, literally, I'm living it. I went to college. My thing was I had too much fun, and I'm the type of person where I got away from my parents. I was like, mom's not bugging. Well, she was bugging me, but I don't got to see mom and dad every day, so I'm gonna just go party. But having a mother who went through all of that stuff and got her master's and all that's fine, but she is a nurse. You have to go to school to become a nurse. There's certain things you have to go to school to become. Luckily, I was blessed to be able to do so many things that it's great if I go to college. But let's say, I walk up to somebody and they're like, I don't care about your degree. All I want to see is your portfolio. If I don't have that, I'm like, yo, but I did my homework and I did this and I did that. I'm like, all right, whatever. You don't have the experience. So college will always be there to me. Like, I'm definitely going to go back and pursue some type of degree. But I kind of want to get that experience out of the way. I want to get that hands-on knowledge out of the way before I sit down and do
even
that.
if you choose not to go to college, there are other things. Everything requires some type of education. So if you become a musician, you still have to learn about music. Exactly. You got to learn about how to make music, how to perfect it, and how to produce music and stuff like that too. So I definitely think college is a choice. I would tell my kids, you have to go to college. Then that's my preference. But if they choose to, have a $1 billion idea, I'm going to push them in that direction and say, hey, well, maybe you can get an honorary doctorate from somewhere. I mean, education.
And my thing is, if it does not hinder you, do it. Now, if you could, even better, like the hindrance with college is obviously the big price tag that comes along with it. So, if you're so creative and you're forward thinking, find a way to go to school for free. There's so many things that we just don't know about. So research, go to school for free, get the education, because the time is going to pass us regardless. Right. So the same things that you're going to be doing while you're in college are going to be happening if you don't, whether you go or not go. Right. So you might as well just get it out of the way. That's how I look at it. I'm like, because I finished my undergrad in 3 years. Wow. So for 3 years, I was not gonna go, right? But I was gonna be doing the same thing. Like, I could have just went to school in my free time. Right. That's all it is. You want your free time, you want to do what you want to do. But I think it's good, especially if you can find a way to go with little loans, then do it.
So if you don't go to school, what can you do? What are the options?
Lyft and Uber. That's the only options. They're only options. Lyft and Uber. That's
if you don't want to go to school, research what you want. I remember, for me, it was two totally different extremes: entertainment or be a judge. I wanted to be a judge because there's so many things that I can implement, especially looking at the political climate of the country right now. It makes me want to go forward in that direction. But I talked to a family member. He's an administrative judge. His wife is an artist. She just painted a portrait for somebody for $4,000. Oh, but what she was saying was, you just want to be a judge more right now because you can look and see what steps you need to take. That other field, there's no book and nothing set in stone for you, so you don't even know how to do it. So that's why. But the same way you research how to become a judge, research what you need to do to be in the entertainment business.
Pay
and do
attention to what you're passionate about.
Exactly. And that's essentially what she was saying.
And you can find that passion in other things, like in trade schools and in the military. Uber, Lyft, whatever you want to do. Like, you don't have to have
To supplement
a
yourself
college
until you
degree
break.
to say.
Yeah.
And
But some people say that, you have to have at least a bachelor's. Like, that's equivalent to like a high school
Nowadays
diploma.
it is.
So,
For our generation, it was important to go to college.
The trajectory is different now, definitely.
Yeah.
but you can get that same type of education or experience in the military and trade school.
For sure.
Yeah.
Because you're getting hands-on experience. That's what I say. If you can get the experience, do it. Whatever you want to do, research it. Find out a way to know as much as you can know about it. You can, build your own little degree. So.
And on your resume, people aren't going to know whether or not you got paid for something. You could show up. You could show up in the studio right now and be like, I want to help you out, and then put that on your resume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So thank you all. That's unfortunately all the time we have today. Thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for another edition of I Wish You Knew. But before we go, did you guys guess the answer to our trivia question?
Is it Dunbar or Roosevelt?
Wait. No.
You said Baloo?
Baloo.
Dunbar.
Roosevelt, Dunbar.
Dunbar. Your guess?
I have no idea.
Well, so the answer is Paul Lawrence Dunbar is the first public high school for African Americans, opening its doors in 1870, right here in Washington, D.C. Yeah, so it's a very historic school.
For sure.